This is John D'Agostino with D'Agostino and Associates, the injury firm, and I'm proud to be a sponsor and partner of WABC Radio and Sid and Friends in the Morning, live from Israel. God bless America.
I'm attorney Jenna D'Agostino, continuing the legacy my father, John D'Agostino, started 35 years ago.
I grew up on these New York and New Jersey streets. They shaped me. I'm attorney John D'Agostino from D'Agostino and Associates, the injury firm.
Call our team first.
888-24-LAW-24. 888-24-LAW-24. D'Agostino Law Bite Back.
The cold winter weather is coming, and the team at Peerless Boilers, they're ready to help you prepare for this season. It's time to make sure your home is nice and warm for the cold weather. Save loads of money on your fuel bill. Do it now before it's too late and you've got a mess on your hands. Start thinking about replacing your old beast of a boiler with a new high-efficiency Peerless Boiler. Go to peerlessboilers.com, pop in your zip code, and you'll find a dealer near you. Remember, Peerless Boilers, the world's best-built boilers, and proud sponsor of Sid and Friends in the Morning, live from Israel.
Oi! This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
You know, I can't even keep up with all the articles, Justin, that have been written. They're still writing about our trip to Israel last week, from our friend Michael Gerbitz at World Israel News to Arutz to the Jerusalem Post. It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
And there's a guy in New York, he's in the Five Towns Times, who writes a lot about me, a lot, just like Barrett Media does. And his name is Larry Gordon. He's a great guy. And he wrote a story which hit the paper yesterday. Nice picture of all of us with me and Rachel and Judah and Gabe Boxer, the kosher guru, with President Herzog. Another picture of us with Eve and a bunch of others in Judea and Samaria. No pictures of me and Bibi, ironically, but it's titled An Unsung Hero. Says he's an unlikely hero of Israel and the Jewish people. Actually, Sid Rosenberg was once a typical American Jew with minimal commitment to the religion, though at the same time fiercely proud of his heritage. The host of WABC's Sid and Friends in the Morning has shared with his listeners how he would have preferred to be Italian as he attended Poly Prep in Brooklyn, where most of his classmates were cool Italian teenagers. Says, I don't know what happened over the course of his childhood in the Midwood section of Brooklyn, but one day his mother and father decided he should be attending yeshiva. It was Solomon Schechter in Brooklyn, which was part of the conservative movement. It didn't turn Sid into a Torah scholar, but that was never the intention. He had a bar mitzvah, married a Jewish lady, and now has 2 Jewish children. In terms of his radio career, he worked with the iconic Don Imus. But that relationship ended. Sid moved to the Florida market, where he flourished on South Florida radio for 16 years until he made his way back to New York and WABC, privately owned by conservative businessman John Catsimatidis. So Sid knew more about Jewish life than many Jews, many of whom may have attended Hebrew school. Sure, Sid knew about Shabbos and Yom Tov, but not much more. However, all that changed after October 7th. Sid Rosenberg, his family, and everyone around him. Well, you got to read the rest. Again, it's a great story in the 5 Town Times by Larry Gordon, and one guy very familiar with our 2 Israel trips over the last 6 months. He hosted us for both. He's the CEO of JNS.org, and we were with him just 6 days ago, is my dear friend Alex Traiman, live in Jerusalem this morning. Alex, Boker Tov, how are you, buddy?
Boker Tov. Good morning, Sid.
You know, I've added that now. Instead of saying good morning, I say Boker Tov. That's from the last trip, so I'm becoming more Jewish every day.
Absolutely.
That was quite a trip last week, you know, Alex, when you consider, again, we had Donald Trump live on the show in Sderot on the October 7th anniversary, if you want to call it that. Then I visited President Herzog in his Jerusalem offices on Thursday night, and then to break the fast at the Phalanx with Bibi Netanyahu on Saturday. I think even you'd have to admit Trump, Herzog and Bibi in the same week. That's a pretty epic week in Israel, yes?
That's epic week. That's top access. You just got a lot of access not a lot of the other people could get.
Yeah, I know. A lot of Israelis are saying to me, Sid, I've lived there for 40, 50 years. I've never met any of these people. So I did feel very fortunate and very lucky. But that's not what the trip was about. It was about going back and being there on October the 7th and seeing what's going on now with the wars raging all over the country. And I left with this. It's a great country. I love it there. The people continue to be the most amazing people on the planet. Just the resolve, the patriotism, the toughness. It needs to be talked about all over the world. But going back there, it is pretty clear, Alex, that while people go about their lives on a daily basis and seem very, very happy, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot going on all over that country that makes it just a little scary. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we had this initial anxiety after October 7th that lasted, I would say, for a couple months before we caught our bearings. But now we're in a state of anxiety again, as we know that Israel is really on serve, basically, to hit up against Iran, and waiting to see what a response could be from Iran, from Hezbollah, from the Houthis, if we attack.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of folks going back and forth about why Bibi is still waiting to do this. Some say that, he just wants to make sure that, he gets the best of it when he does do it. Others say that he's still receiving a tremendous amount of pressure. We know this is true because it's been public from Biden not to do it in Iran, and that he's actually caving once again to the Americans, although Fox News said yesterday that Bibi is not doing that. So, Dershowitz seems to think he is. David Friedman was on this show yesterday. He seems to think that he is Bibi listening to Biden. What does Alex Traiman think?
Well, I know that we're getting a lot of pressure, of course, not to do this, but I don't think that the delay has to do so much with pressure, unless that they think that there's something that they can get in return. We saw that the THAAD system, which is the thermal high altitude air defense system, was sent over here to help protect Israel from ballistic missiles that Iran is likely to fire at us. Because a lot of those ballistic missiles that they fired on October 1st actually got through. I mean, most of them were intercepted, but, it doesn't take too many ballistic missiles to do a whole heck of a lot of damage. But I think that most of the delay is about getting the missile defense up in better condition towards 100% interception as close as possible, and also to make sure that the battle plans are set, because how many opportunities do you have to strike? And strike first against Iran. If they're going to do it now, they're going to do it right. And I think that they're trying to get every single one of their last ducks in a row before they make the hit.
That makes sense. So Bibi is that detailed. So last week, the United States says we're going to provide you with weaponry, and Israelis were like, all right, way to go. And then it comes out yesterday that unless, and he's only got 30 days to do it, unless Bibi and Israel do a much better job of providing humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza, then the United States is, in fact, going to stop delivering weapons. One day it's good. The next day they stab Bibi and Israel right in the back. These newest revelations yesterday that unless things improve in Gaza, they're going to stop sending weapons. What are the thoughts in Israel about that?
I think we understand who's fully behind us, who's not fully behind us. The United States has been sending weapons to help us defend ourselves from ballistic missile attacks, but withholding weapons when it comes to helping us win the war. They want us to fight. They don't want us to be destroyed. They don't want us to win. They don't want Israel to fully crush Hamas. They don't want Israel to fully crush Hezbollah, and they don't want Israel to fully crush the Iranian Republic either. That's clear, and I think Israelis understand that we're in a moment where we have to step up and provide the leadership ourselves. We cannot count on leadership. We might be able to count on some level of support, but you can't count on leadership now from any other country in the world. It's really up to Netanyahu to step up and to be that leader.
The ambassador, Trump's ambassador to Israel, our mutual friend David Friedman, who's in Israel as we speak, he called in yesterday. He actually rode a camel with Tammy yesterday afternoon. And he said that he hates to admit it, but that Bibi and Israel does need the United States. That whether it's weaponry or money or whatever it is, that that Israel may not have the wherewithal to do this alone. Thoughts on that?
Well, especially when it comes to the deep underground nuclear facilities that Iran has been building for decades. Israel just doesn't have the bunker busting technology, and Iran is pretty far away from the state of Israel, and Israel doesn't have too many places where it can necessarily park or land their jets. So, certainly, if you want to hit these deep underground facilities, you need bunker busting technology, and only the United States has that. And for all of the missile defense that Israel has, and it is pretty sophisticated, we see very clearly that it's not 100%. And so, whatever help you can get to protect the home front is definitely appreciated. But I think that Israel will fight alone if that's what they have to do. Israeli officials have said they'll fight with their fingernails if that's what they got to do.
Wow. So, the election here in the United States, Alex, is only 20 days away. Interesting story. I was having dinner in Binyamin up there in Judea and Samaria a week ago tonight, actually. We did our show a week ago today from Ariel University, Gabi Haro. What a great day. And one of the politicians up there came to me and said, we want Trump. And he said, believe it or not, it's going to sound crazy, but we may need Trump to win in Israel. It may be as important for Trump to win for us here in Israel, Sid, as it is for you in Queens. And I agreed with him, but how about that sentiment from a lot of Israelis that I spoke to, maybe anecdotal, but a lot of Israelis that I spoke to that really believe Donald Trump needs to win. He says it. You guys get upset when he says things like, if I don't win, you guys are in trouble. But I got to tell you, Israelis believe that's the case.
Well, we saw the policies. We saw the policies with regard to Iran. Trump pulled out of the JCPOA. He took out Soleimani, who's one of the heads of the IRGC. So he understands the Iranian threat, and he also understands that the Judea and Samaria, what the so-called settlements of the West Bank, these are suburban communities in the biblical provinces of Judea and Samaria. These are not the obstacles to peace. So when you're meeting the governor of Samaria, it was Trump and it was Pompeo that basically turned around the U.S. policy, which said that, no, these communities are not illegal under international law, and how could they be? But as soon as the Biden administration got back into office, they reversed that ruling, and they said, no, we do consider these to be illegal under international law. And Harris and others have gone and said that they see that the only possible outcome to this conflict is a two-state solution, which means that Judea and Samaria become a Palestinian state. They want there to be no Jews living in Judea.
Oh, that is ridiculous. There's already too many Arabs, to be honest, in that area in Judea and Samaria, a whole bunch of neighborhoods that are completely Arab. And what's funny, and I say this all the time, Alex, and I mean this, there's a lot of people at this radio station in New York that talk about, the relationship between Arabs and Jews and what the Jews should do. They have no idea what they're talking about. None. Unless you go to Israel, go there, experience the dynamic, experience the tension. You're talking out of your ass. I mean, I drove by communities on this trip with Justin. There were signs up, I guess from Allah, that actually said, if you make your way into this neighborhood, you could be killed. Those are Palestinian neighborhoods, not Hamas neighborhoods, Palestinian neighborhoods that are warning Jews not to come in. I didn't see any of that in Efrat, where they warn the Palestinians. It's amazing what they get away with.
Yeah, for anybody that comes here, just walk around an Israeli town and see how safe you feel and how happy and the people are around you, that they're peace-loving people. Walk around in an Arab city, in Judea and Samaria. Go walk around Tulkarm. Tell me how safe you feel over there. It's something that you can't understand until you've been here.
Yep.
And Israel gets so much attention in the media, but when you come here, you understand how small the country is, right? For my house in Jerusalem, I can look out my porch and I can see Amman, Jordan, right? And I can drive, not too far to the Mediterranean Sea the other way. It's a tiny, tiny country, and it's not big enough to have two countries in it for people that don't get along with each other and don't have the same view of the world as one another.
No doubt, not the same view. In fact, I went to shul in Eprat for Yom Kippur and stood outside the apartment that Judah Honickman got for me and got a real nice view of Bethlehem, another Arab city where they hate the Jewish people. That's the bottom line. So tonight, the holidays continue. We had Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. We had Yom Kippur. And tonight, Alex Traiman, we start the week-long holiday of Sukkot. So for folks that are listening, what is that holiday like in Israel, specifically for you guys?
Sukkot is actually probably the best festival of the entire year. It's a week-long festival. Jews build booths, basically temporary booths, outside of their homes, on their porches, in their backyards, even in the street. They're not. They're not permanent. They don't even have like a real ceiling. The ceiling will be, branches of trees that have been cut off or some bamboo, where you're able to see through it. You're able to see to the sky, and it basically teaches you really that nothing's permanent in life, and that your protection only comes from God. The sukkah. It relates to the clouds of glory that surrounded the Jewish people when they were wandering the desert for 40 years, and it's the joyous time of the year. It's a vacation week for everybody. Great food, great fun. People bounce around from house to house, from sukkah to sukkah. And this year we're also taught this lesson, that the protection really comes from God. And we saw that on October 1st. We saw that on April 13th when Iran sent these ballistic missiles into Israel. Truly miraculous that none of them hit and did more damage. I think if these things were fired into any other country, you would have heard about thousands upon thousands of people dead. So, it's a good reminder for us, as good as our army is, as good as our technology is, that ultimately the protection comes from above.
I got news for you. You can even include October 7th. I know 1,200 people died, and the fashion in which they died was so grotesque and so inhumane that you don't want to think about it. But a lot more could have died that day, too. Let's be honest. A lot more could have died that day.
Yeah, considering how flat-footed Israel was and unprepared for that day, 6,000 people crossed the border. They could have killed thousands upon thousands more people had they wanted. And also, we saw this report in the New York Times that Iran and Hezbollah, that they were aware that this attack was going to take place, and they were prepared for this attack too. And Israel had always been concerned that Hezbollah would launch a cross-border attack as well. We've since foiled that attack. Now it's not going to happen. But if that would have happened on October 7th or of October 8th or October 9th, Israel also would have been completely flat-footed, and thousands upon thousands of people could have been killed. So another miracle that for whatever reason Hezbollah decided not to attack that day. October 7th was horrific, one of the worst days in Israeli history. It could have been much, much worse. Right. It's hard for people to understand that, but there is a lot of divine mercy here in all that's taken place.
That's why I brought it up. Same thing, 9/11 here in the United States. We lost, 3,000 people, nearly 3,000 right here downtown. But, what they really wanted to do was not have the buildings come straight down. Their plan was to have those buildings fall forward and literally crush every building in downtown Manhattan. Also, that was a gorgeous day. Giants-Broncos the night before, so not everybody came to work that morning. But much like October 7th, as bad as 9/11 was, believe me, a lot more could have died here too. So every now and then, even in a disaster, God does show some mercy. Alex Traiman, happy Sukkot. Shana Tova. It was great seeing you and Sippy and your whole crew at JNS last week. And just so you know, Scott Feltman and One Israel Fund, they're already making preparations for Sid Rosenberg to Israel, trip number 3.
Oh, man, can't wait. Looking forward.
Me too, pal. Have a nice holiday. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Alex Traiman right there. He is the CEO of JNS.org. And if you want any information, I mean any, on what's going on in Israel, that's the place to go, JNS.org.